Hi. Today, we are going to explain the plot of the movie called Wrong Turn 6, which was released in 2014. Well, let's start with the story. One day, a couple named Nick and Daria went to a place in the middle of the forest where they found a hot spring and took a bath together. After making love in the hot spring, the two rushed to leave the place, but suddenly Nick fell and was injured by an arrow. Apparently, an ugly man nicknamed Three Fingers shot them both from a distance. In the end, they both died horribly after being killed by Three Fingers and his two brothers. As time passes, a man named Danny and his friends head to a remote resort. It is known that Danny, who is an adopted child, is now being called back by his original family to inherit their family heritage resort. On the way, Danny still seems nervous to face the extended family he just found out about, having lived all this time with only his girlfriend Tony and his friends. Not long after Danny and his entourage arrived at their destination, the resort called Hot Springs still looked magnificent despite its ancient design. Their arrival was greeted by Danny's cousins named Jackson and Sally, who were the caretakers and people in charge of the Hot Springs resort. Actually, the two cousins did not expect that Danny would bring his friends as many as 6 people, but fortunately, at that time, their mansion had many empty rooms because the visitors had just checked out. After entering the mansion and looking around for a while, Danny and his friends started to deliberate. A friend named Brian suggested that they immediately take care of the asset transfer contract and sell the resort as soon as possible. But Danny seemed to really like the resort and invited his other friends to stay for a while. Upon hearing this, the other friends preferred Danny's idea, so Brian and his girlfriend had to go with the majority. Meanwhile, there was a visitor named Agnes, who had yet to check out. Despite her age, she loved to tease Jackson, who had a muscular body. As she was about to leave through the hallway, an axe flew and got stuck in her body. Seeing the incident, Jackson just had a flat expression on his face while yelling to remind them not to cause too much trouble. Long story short, Danny and his friends were having a good time in Hot Springs. One day, while Brian and his girlfriend were shopping at the local grocery store, they ran into a sheriff who was putting up some posters on the bulletin board. Apparently, there were a lot of missing people in the area, and the two of them looked at the photos of the missing people, including Agnes, the old lady. Meanwhile, Danny and his other friends are looking at family photos. A friend named Vic teases Danny's family because many of his family members are physically and mentally disabled. But apparently Jackson heard the teasing and was furious. Fortunately, Danny was able to explain to his cousin that Vic was just joking. Afterwards, Jackson invited Danny to the weapon room, where he explained that their family had a hunting background. So Jackson invited Danny and his cousin to go hunting together in the mountains. Curious, Danny accepted his cousin's invitation. Long story short, Danny and Jackson were already in the middle of the mountain forest. As they walked, Jackson expressed his opinion about Tony and his other friends. According to him, they all just want to use Danny and take their family treasure. That's when Danny tells the story of his past with Brian and his friends. They used to be good working partners until one day, his office went bankrupt and he lost all his assets. But Danny still believes that his girlfriend and his friends are good people. Hearing that Jackson could only remind his cousin to be more vigilant, he also explained that they found Danny with the help of the internet. It is known that her family has been searching for Danny's whereabouts for a long time, as Danny plays an important role in the family as an heir. Meanwhile, inside the resort, Brian and his girlfriend meet with the others to explain that there are many missing people in the neighborhood. Worried about her boyfriend, Tony tells Vic to follow him. Meanwhile, Danny is learning to shoot a deer, and with one shot, Danny hits the deer right in the vital organs and kills it. At the same time, a sheriff who went to investigate in Hot Springs was also shot by Three Fingers, confirming the truth that Danny's family was indeed good at hunting and archery. Moments later, Vic, who was trying to catch up with Danny and Jackson, saw one of the Three Fingers brothers eating Danny's deer raw. Seeing this, Vic, who was frightened, ran away until he bumped into Danny, who was walking, resulting in Danny being seriously injured by one of the traps. Arriving at the resort, Danny is treated by Sally. After bandaging all the wounds, Sally seduces Danny and invites him to have fun, but fortunately Tony arrives and the affair fails. In the end, Danny has passionate fun with his girlfriend Tony, while Sally can only look on in excitement. Elsewhere, Vic is still imagining what he saw in the woods earlier. To forget about it, Vic and his other friends go to the pool to bother Brian, who is having fun with his girlfriend in the middle of the night. They had more fun at the resort as if they had nothing to worry about.
Civil War.
The next day, Danny conferred with his friends and decided to manage the resort and expand the business. Hearing this, Brian actually disagreed because Danny did not have the basics in running a resort business. His other friends also seemed hesitant because they thought there were some irregularities in the old resort. But Danny seemed a little pushy, so his friends could only keep quiet and follow all Danny's ideas. Arriving at the room, Brian found out that his girlfriend had stolen some expensive souvenirs from the resort. At first, he seemed angry, but in the end, the man even stole some souvenirs with his girlfriend to sell at the auction. One day, the two find a secret place that looks like an altar to perform rituals. Excited, Brian and his girlfriend have fun in this place, but suddenly Three Fingers and his two brothers come to kill them both. Hit on the head by something, Brian fell down and died, while his girlfriend died after several parts of her body were broken and her throat was slit. Moments later, Sally entered the place and stopped what Three Fingers and his brothers were doing. She scolded them and told them to get out of there. Sally then took the dying Brian to have some fun in his last moments. A few moments later, Jackson, who found out about the chaos, stopped Sally's actions, asking the girl to wait a little longer because she could definitely have fun with Danny in the evening. Hearing this, Sally looks happy and kills the dying Brian by smothering him. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Danny and Tony are arguing over disagreements. It seems that Tony is disappointed because Danny has begun to change and no longer listens to her words and the friends who have been with him all this time. Instead, Danny prefers to defend his new family that he has just met and does not know the story of his past. Annoyed, Danny simply leaves his girlfriend, while Tony can only hug her younger brother, who is not far from them. In a room, Vic begins to get suspicious because Brian and his girlfriend's suitcases are hidden in a closet. And his suspicion increases when he overhears the conversation between Danny and his two cousins. It seemed that the three of them were going somewhere tonight for a family reunion. As planned, Danny and his two cousins go to the middle of the forest for a family reunion. A curious Vic follows them from behind. There, Danny meets his extended family, some of whom look ugly and are physically and mentally handicapped. At that moment, Sally explains to Danny that there are three castes in her family: the Creightons, the Boggles, and the Hillikers. Danny and his two cousins belong to the Hillikers, which is the highest caste in their family because they have the perfect physique and appearance. Then, from the side, Jackson gives Danny the family drink, but after drinking, Danny starts to get drunk and becomes easily suggestible. The two cousins explain that their purpose in bringing Danny was to continue the family line. As the highest caste, Danny must sleep with Sally in order to have pure blood offspring. Already drunk, Danny can only comply and have fun with his own cousins. Meanwhile, Vic is captured by one of her family members and killed in a crowd of family members. They drink his blood and eat his flesh. Danny, who is enjoying the atmosphere with Sally, is completely unaware of this and instead joins in drinking his friend's blood. The next day, Danny finds his friends drunk. Sensing something is wrong, his remaining friends invite Danny to leave the resort, but Danny refuses and falls asleep instead. To find the whereabouts of his friends, Tony and two others began to search various places, but at one point the three of them saw Jackson processing and eating human flesh. They became even more frightened when they saw Brian's head in the cooling room. The three of them intended to escape. Unfortunately, their whereabouts were discovered by Three Fingers and his brothers. In order to save Tony and his brother, Charlie decided to hold the three ugly men, which resulted in Charlie's death after his stomach exploded because his anus was punctured by a high-pressure pump. On the run, Tony wants to go back and save Danny, which drives them apart. Tony's brother died after being caught in a bear trap and hacked to death by Three Fingers and his henchmen, while Tony, armed with a shotgun, fought with Sally, who had told her everything she had done. Tony managed to wound Sally in the face and shoot her in the right leg, but unfortunately Danny prevented his girlfriend from killing her cousin. Jackson came up from behind and tried to kill Tony. Seeing this, Danny separated the two and told Tony to leave. Unfortunately, Jackson still did not accept her actions and chased after Tony. In the end, Tony managed to kill Jackson with a small knife. Seeing this, Danny became furious that his girlfriend had killed one of his highest caste family members, and finally Tony died after his head was sliced open by Three Fingers. Time passed, and now Danny was officially in charge of Hob Springs. To celebrate, he invited many guests and held a buffet under the name Tony's Restaurant. As the name implies, the food was made from Tony's meat. In the middle of the banquet, Danny invited Three Fingers and his other siblings to go to the family ritual. But there was already Sally waiting in a terrible condition because her face was damaged and her right leg was stumped. The two of them went to the center of the altar to have some fun. It seems that this time Danny has become the head of the family. As per tradition, he tried to get a pure blood offspring from Sally.